Hi, Jessie. Thank you for letting me record our conversation.
Yeah.
As we were talking before, you have a lot going on that I want to capture, but I wanted to start off with Ayurveda. Just how did you find it in the first place? What was your introduction to it?
How I found Ayurveda. So it was interesting because several years ago, oh my gosh, I feel like I have to like back up so much to even get to where I like first crossed paths with it. And what was happening is I was doing a lot of coaching consulting in the education nonprofit world, a lot of leadership development stuff, like equity work, like team culture resets. And I started noticing a pattern that a lot of people that were like having a lot of challenges or struggling the most with their leadership or just in the context that they were working, living in, seemed to have, it was emerging at the time. It wasn't a clear trend to me, but seemed to have digestive and or nervous system issues. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That seems to be a thing. And so, but legally, I'm like, I can't be up in people's business asking them about their digestion. Like, that's not appropriate for, I was at the time, still am a certified professional coach, but that doesn't mean I can ask you about your digestion. Um,
Oh,
and so that prompted me to get a health coaching certificate because I wanted to make sure legally, ethically, morally, it would be appropriate, of course, with people's consent, if that was something they were interested in discussing with me. And in that program, in that training, um, like alternative medicine. It was, I think, introduced under the umbrella of
mhm.
alternative medicine, different systems. And so we did a little bit on Ayurveda, we did a little bit on traditional Chinese medicine. There was like a few different things. And it was just like the seed was planted. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. That reminds me of growing up and some of the healing practices my mom had. And it was like, fine. But it wouldn't be until I think it would have been like maybe 2 years after that. I don't know if it was like a podcast or radio. The word Ayurveda popped up. And as soon as it popped up, I don't know if it was like a download, but I felt right away is like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. I was like, what? And so I did this thing that sometimes I do where I like make a deal with the universe. And I said, I'm not really sure what that meant. I'm going to I'm going to Google what this is for 15 minutes. If this is something I'm supposed to be pursuing, I will pursue it, but give me the information I need within 15 minutes. And then if it's nothing, then it's nothing and I'm going to let it go. And within 15 minutes, I found a program and had applied.
Oh my goodness. Seriously.
Yeah, it was kind of like a little bit of a magical experience. I'm like, I think I need this for myself. And then, of course, for just the work I was doing more broadly. But that's how it came about. It was like a 15-minute, I guess, like a seed was planted. 2 years later, it was like a 15-minute window. And I was just off to the races.
So I think I wasn't quite sure when to ask you about all of the different modalities that you offer, but you kind of hinted at some different things. And so maybe this is the right time for you to talk about the coaching and the medical astrologer and how all of that fits together for you.
Yes, it has been I actually gotten feedback from people from like a business perspective because business is not like my top area of strength. Of like you need to focus in on one or two things and create a niche and like market that and put that out into the world. And I just refuse to do that. The one thing I would say that everything I do boils down to is healing. Healing at the individual level, healing at the community level, healing at the broader societal level, and even systems level. And so I see all the work I do as just different branches of the same healing tree. And one branch is coaching. And so I do coaching with individuals for sure. I have individual clients, but a lot of my coaching work is actually with educators or principals or like nonprofit leaders. I work with schools, with school districts, with nonprofit organizations, um, and do a lot of coaching to help them just solve leadership level problems. Um, or I also do, and or sometimes I'll engage in like consulting type of contracts where we're trying to reset the culture of your grade level of your entire team or of like your school. Maybe there was a lot of turnover, maybe something there was like a crisis in the community and there's like just a turbulent moment that that group is experiencing, or like there's been a lot of budget cuts in organizations, and so now, you know, so it's like healing from those things. So a lot of coaching, a lot of consulting. And then the medical astrology. So I am an astrologer and I'll read natal charts and solar return charts and do um forecasting and such, but I really love and I'm most passionate about the medical astrology because again, it's such a direct tie into healing. I mean, natal astrology is too, because I think we need healing at, you know, mind, body, spirit, soul level. And so I do a lot of medical astrology to help people figure out what they have a propensity for, if anything, in this lifetime. That was actually how I found out some of the health issues I was having. And that's what got me really
Mm.
doubling down on that. And then I even do tarot because I think tarot is such a good different part of our brain. It's very visual, it's very symbolic. And I think that also brings a lot of comfort and guidance and peace for people. And so now with the Ayurvedic health counseling, I can weave that in to the already existing modalities.
Yeah. And so while we're here, healing is justice. How did you come up with that name and what does that encompass?
Healing is Justice came about again. Actually, now that you asked me, it was also via a download. I think it was like I was either like waking up or going to sleep. I was in like some intermediary like sleep process. And I was like, oh, that justice in Spanish is tattooed on my body. It's one of my core values. And so I had been undergoing my own healing journeys. I'm like, this is what it takes. Like, if we are going to create justice in this disgusting world right now, we have to be tight and right within ourselves. And it's not to say, like, if I heal myself, then all of the world's ills are resolved. But I think it gives us the mental, emotional, physical capacity and fortitude to take on the work that we have to take on, because honestly I think systems want us sick and tired and afraid and confused, and if we do everything we can to have and hold and sustain wellness, I think that is how we fight back essentially.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I'm not able to say it that beautifully, but I do agree with that. There's something about making self-care a priority. And I didn't think about, and then you have the energy to go out and fight. I think about it for me, then I'm less reactive.
Yes.
When I am centered and grounded and feeling whole and complete, the solutions that I come up with and the way I engage is much calmer,
Yeah.
much more compassionate. But it's like I have to be in a good space in order to do that. Like you're saying, when I'm tired or I'm irritable or sick or whatever the thing is, like I can't get a hold of that piece of me, the part of me that I want to interact with.
Mhm.
So a lot of this self-care work is balance for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I just released a leadership and wellness series, like a series online courses where I'm like intertwining the leadership development with the healing more comprehensively. And in it, I refer to self-care as a leadership responsibility. It is
Mm.
not a nice to have. It is not a luxury. It is not something I think we need to earn. Sometimes we say, like, if I work myself to the bone for the next 5, 6 days, then for 2 hours on one day, I will be able to go for a walk or get my nail, like whatever it is. And it's like, no, caring for ourselves is not something we have to earn. Like, we're supposed to be doing that. And when we do, we're better for ourselves, for our families, for our communities,
Yeah.
and our job, like for everyone. I think I got to the point where I was like, well, I don't want I don't want people to heal just to continue living in a sick world.
Mhm.
I want us to heal so it's actually sane, whole people who can create a brand new world,
Yeah.
because this one is not it. And I think sick people created this world, sick people damaged this world. And I think it's going to be healed people who create a brand new one.
Oh, I like that, Jessie. So how does the self-care for me overlaps with Ayurveda? Is that the same for you or okay, can you say a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's funny because there's like so many parallels, like the parallels feel so clear in my mind after I feel like the Ayurveda work was like the last missing puzzle piece for me. And I'm open to learning more. I'm such
Mhm.
a learner, but because whether any kind of healing work, whether we're looking at it through the lens of Ayurveda or astrology, medical astrology, or otherwise, to me, it's going to lead us to self-care, because all it is figuring out and understanding the human being and relationship to nature's cycles.
Mhm.
So from an astrology perspective, it's like, what is my relationship to the cycles of the planetary energies as they are? And part of that is the seasons. The reason we have seasons is because this planet is rotating and revolving out in the solar system. So why wouldn't, the other planets also be influential in that? And Ayurveda is all about
Mhm.
aligning to the seasons and the cycles of
Mhm.
the day and the cycles of
Mhm.
life and the phases of life. So it's like, yeah, that is the epitome, I think, of self-care is, am I aligning to my natural rhythms that
Mhm.
exist in nature, or am I fighting against them? And not just am I fighting against them, but have I been programmed or socialized
Mhm.
to go against them?
Mhm. Talk a little bit, you're making me curious about the socialization part. Um, When we started this module and we talked about seasonal cooking, or we talked about what kind of spices to use at different times of year, like, oh my God, my grandmother used to cook like that. I wasn't paying attention to what she was doing and she wasn't teaching us. But when I think back to, we had different food in the fall and in the winter, and I thought probably because it's what was available, but also how she seasoned it was different. And, more cinnamon, more, which is a warming spice I learned through Ayurveda, and so it's just kind of
Mhm.
like, how much of that wisdom was there? I don't know. I don't know. We never talked about it. But for sure, my generation was like, I don't want that old stuff. I want the, fast food or the processed food or the quick and the
Mhm.
easy or whatever. But taking this course is like, oh my gosh, she was doing it. She was giving us food that fit the environment that we were living in, that we came from, and that was healthy for our bodies. And I didn't connect that up until we started taking this module for this last module for Ayurveda.
Yeah. Yeah. Our grandma knew, the abuelas know, they've they've been knowing, like
Yeah.
it has been like an ancestral thing. And I think for a lot of us it's been an oral tradition of healing practices.
Mm,
This, like, now I feel like it's coming up like this is the new trend, or but it's like for so many traditions this has just been who we are. Like, we were our own doctors, like when
hmm
we go back into our ancestry, and so many traditions have had some kind of healing system, just
hmm
some were able to preserve and protect it from
hmm
imperialistic and colonial forces better than others for a variety of reasons. But yeah, I mean, growing up, I remember my mom telling us, like, do not walk barefoot on the cold floor. What are you doing? Go put on your socks, go put on your zapatillas, like your slippers. And it was like, why? Like, why is that such a big deal? And then yeah, now I'm like, of course that was a big deal. All this cold is coming up through my feet and it's making my body cold. No wonder my digestion is like now, but it's she was told that growing up, but also not given the rationale. So,
Yes.
right, it's
Yeah.
like things start to get lost in the sauce. But now, having done our coursework, it's like, oh, that's why. That's why
Yeah.
my grandma would say this. That's why my mom would tell me that.
Yeah, I love that. It kept happening the whole time. And it was just kind of, remembering or calling my mom, calling my cousins and being like, do you remember this? Do you remember this? And it's like, do you think that's what she was trying to teach us or tell us? Again, because there was no discussion as to why we were doing it. But it was very grounding and very humbling to realize, oh, we had it. We did have it. It did come through our lineage. I I don't want to say I didn't respect it because I think my whole generation kind of, we want the new, we want the glitzy, we want the glam, we want the whatever. And so something about it put me deeply in touch with my lineage. I can say that for sure in ways that I wasn't expecting.